This forklift safety course covers workplace operation. What you will learn includes critical dimensions of your forklift, the operating environment, pre-operation checks, traveling and maneuvering, ramps and inclines, pedestrian safety, and enclosed areas. Forklifts can change size by raising and lowering the mast. This section provides an overview of forklift dimensions that forklift operators should know to determine whether the forklift can do the task safely in the available space. The critical forklift measurements of a powered industrial forklift are overall lowered height, overall raised height, free fork height, and maximum fork height. Failure to understand the critical dimensions of your forklift can create several hazards, such as hitting ceiling fixtures, low-hanging lamps, heaters, racks, doorways, or trailer ceilings. Safe practices includes knowing the dynamic range of your vehicle to determine whether your forklift can do the task safely in the space available. You should consider the overall lowered height when determining whether your forklift can enter a narrow area. Also consider free fork height when determining whether your forklift can lift the load to the needed height. Consider overall lowered height with the free fork height to determine if the forklift can safely load within the confines of a small space. Overall lowered height is the height of your forklift mast when the forks are in the fully lowered position. Know your mast height with the forks at their lowest point and the mast clearance of your forklift. Don't enter doorways, confined spaces, or semi-trailer containers without adequate clearance. Determine whether your forklift can do the job in the space available. The ability to enter the space must be considered with the requirements for lifting and maneuvering within the space to determine whether the forks can lift the load to the required traveling height. Overall raised height is the height of the mast and the forks at their fully extended position. Hazards include hitting overhead fixtures, sprinklers, heating system elements, breaking through the roof of semi-trailers, or hitting the ceiling of low spaces. Safe practices include knowing your fully extended mast height with the forks at their highest point and the clearance your forklift requires. Evaluate the overhead obstructions prior to extending the mast. Never travel with the load fully elevated. Be cautious when high tiering. Carefully tilt mast forward to deposit. Free fork height is the maximum height of the forks with the mast in the fully lowered position. Potential hazards in this condition can result in damage to racks, pallets, and people. Safe practices include know the height your forks can reach without extending the mast. Evaluate the fork height required to load and clear the top of any pallet from a double stack. The maximum fork height is the height of the forks when the mast and the forks are fully raised. Potential hazards include damage to racks, pallets, or products, falling loads, or collision with other objects. Know the maximum height your forks can reach with the mast extended. Know whether your forklift can adequately do the job assigned. Evaluate whether your forklift can lift the load to the highest stack with adequate fork clearance. As a forklift operator, it's important for you to understand your operating environment. Surface or ground conditions are an important part of safe forklift operation. Operating surfaces must be strong enough to support the forklift, its load, and the operator. They must also be free of holes, grease, oil, or obstructions that could cause the forklift to skid or bounce and possibly tip over. Conditions to be aware of are slippery conditions, obstructions and uneven surfaces, floored load limits, and overhead clearance. Never drive over oil or grease spots. Use a dock board or plate to bridge the gap between the dock and the trailer being loaded or unloaded. Slippery conditions pose an extreme hazard for forklift operation. Avoid the hazardous surface whenever possible. Spread absorbent material on slick areas that you can't avoid. Cross the slippery area slowly and cautiously. Be sure to report that slippery area to your supervisor. Post a sign or warning cones until the area can be cleaned. Obstructions and uneven surfaces also cause hazardous conditions for forklift operation. There's a danger of tip over when traveling over obstructions or traveling over holes and bumps. Safe practices include keeping all aisles clear, watch out for overhead obstructions, avoid the obstructions or get off the forklift and remove the obstruction. Never drive straight across speed bumps or railroad tracks. Cross slowly at a 45-degree angle. Maintain steering control by keeping contact with the ground at all times. If an area is cluttered, walk the route first to spot problems. Be constantly alert to changing or unusual conditions. To prevent the danger of collapsing floors, make sure you understand the floor load limit of any surface on which you're driving. Safe practices include observe posted floor load limits, inspecting the condition of the floor, looking for holes or weakened flooring, loose objects or obstructions, and protruding nails or boards. Report defective flooring immediately. Don't travel over surfaces that cannot support the weight of the forklift and its load. Don't enter a boxcar or semi-van without inspecting its floor and knowing the load limits. Understanding overhead clearance is critical in safe forklift operation. You can cause damage to lights, stacks, doors, sprinklers, pipes. You could also damage the load. Additionally, there's a danger of tip over by striking an overhead object. Safe practices include being aware of the height of fixtures and not traveling with loads elevated. Before using your forklift, be sure to conduct a pre-operation or pre-start inspection that checks a variety of items, including fluid levels for oil, water, and hydraulics. Check for leaks, cracks, or any other visible defects, including hydraulic hose and mast chains. Don't place your hands inside the mast. Check tire conditions and tire pressure. Check condition of all forks and the top clip retaining pin and heel. Check the load backrest extension, finger guards, safety decals, and nameplates. Fully check the operator compartment. Safety check all devices, including the seat belt. Different types of forklift require different pre-operational checks. For example, on electric forklifts, check cables and connectors for frayed or exposed wires. Check the battery restraints, electrolyte levels, and the hood latch. For internal combustion forklifts, you need to check engine oil, brake reservoir, engine coolant, air filter, belts and hoses, radiator, and hood latch. For liquid propane forklifts, make sure the tank is properly mounted and the pressure relief valve is pointing up. Tank restraint brackets, check the tank for dents and cracks, and check that the tank fits with the profile of the forklift. Check for leaks using a soapy solution. After conducting the initial operational pre-check, conduct an operational inspection with the engine or motor running, the inch accelerator pedals if equipped, brakes, steering, drive control, both forward and reverse, tilt control, forward and back, hoist and lowering controls, attachment controls, horn, lights, backup alarm, and hour meter. Report unusual noises or vibrations to your supervisor immediately. There are a number of conditions under which a forklift must be removed from service. If you notice these conditions while driving, stop, park the vehicle, and get assistance. Any powered industrial forklift not in a safe operating condition must be removed from service. Defects when found must be immediately reported and corrected. Any vehicle that emits hazardous sparks or flames from the exhaust system must be immediately removed from service. When the temperature of any part of any forklift is in excess of its normal operating temperature, the vehicle also must be removed from service. No forklift should be operated with a leak in the fuel system until that leak has been corrected. Keeping forklifts properly maintained is very important. Never operate a vehicle that requires maintenance or is in any way unsafe. Remove from surface any forklift not in a safe operating condition. All repairs must be made by authorized personnel only. Don't attempt to fix it yourself unless you're trained and authorized to do so. Perform preventive maintenance according to the manufacturer's scheduled recommendation. Keep your forklift clean, free of lint, excess oil, and grease. Use only non-combustible agents for cleaning your forklift. High flash point solvents may be used. Don't use low flash point solvents, as it can create a fire hazard. When traveling or maneuvering your forklift, follow safe operating rules at all times. Always maintain complete control of the forklift, keep a proper lookout, and operate the forklift at speeds safe for the particular operation and worksite conditions. Safe operating procedures include proper mounting and dismounting, starting, stopping, operating at proper speed, using the pedals correctly, proper steering, turning, and changing of direction, traveling on inclines, parking your forklift, using safe travel practices, ensuring proper visibility, and avoiding situations which could cause tip over or load spill. Be safe when getting into or out of a forklift. Be sure your hands are clean and dry to prevent slipping when grabbing handholds. Check your shoes for grease before entering the forklift. Firmly grasp the handholds. Never grab the steering wheel because it could cause you to lose balance if it moves. Always be careful with your footing when getting into or out of your forklift. Move your body carefully when getting into or out of the cab, and maintain a 3-point contact at all times. Never jump out of your forklift. Be sure to wear appropriate footwear to prevent slips and falls. Before starting, conduct a pre-operational check and an operational check after starting the engine. Ensure your way is always clear. Sound your horn in warning or use a spotter if your view is obstructed. Proceed cautiously down the travel path, watching for dangerous blind spots. When stopping, select an authorized area to park. Don't block an aisle or an exit. Apply the brakes slowly and come to a full stop. Place controls in neutral and set the parking brake. Then turn off the ignition. If the forklift is parked on an incline, be sure to block the wheels and take the key with you when you leave. When moving forward, follow safe practices. Drive slow enough so that you can stop in a safe manner. Always slow down for wet and slippery floors. Be sure to look in the direction of travel and keep a clear view of your path. Slow down and sound the horn at cross aisles and other locations where your vision may be obstructed. Be sure to travel with the load trailing if the load obstructs your forward view. Slow down for turns and turn the steering wheel in a smooth motion. Slow down when moving up or down incline grades. For grades that exceed 10%, loaded forklifts must be driven with the load uphill. Don't run over loose objects. Forklifts are less stable on turns and grades and can tip over in these conditions. When steering or turning, be aware of these potential safety hazards. Collision with pedestrians or objects due to the forklift's tail swing to the opposite side of the direction of the turn, falling loads, and tip over caused by turning too sharply. Safe practices include: use caution when making turns, especially when working in confined or narrow aisles. When the forklift turns a corner, the rear of the forklift swings in the opposite direction of the turn. Anticipate the rear end swing and start the turn as close to the inside corner as possible. Plan your route and anticipate your turns. Never turn with the forks elevated. Never turn on a grade. Forklift may tip over even on a very slight grade. Reversing your forklift can increase the chance of injury and accident. Use extreme caution when backing up. Always keep a clear view. Look in the direction of travel. When reversing, look behind. Be aware of limited visibility and use extreme caution when driving in reverse. Consider the use of ground guides, rear view mirrors, spotters, or other aids to increase visibility. Consider the noise level in your workplace. Don't assume pedestrians or bystanders are able to hear your backup alarm. Always allow plenty of room for pedestrians. Never assume pedestrians or bystanders are aware of the presence of heavy equipment and the intended direction of travel. Don't grab the overhead guard when traveling in reverse. This could expose your fingers to serious injury. While traveling on a grade or an incline, be aware of these potential hazards of tip over and falling or slipping loads. Drive loaded forklifts forward going up a ramp with a load upgrade, and drive in reverse going down a ramp, again with a load upgrade. Always drive unloaded forklifts with the forks going downgrade. Never drive with a load downgrade. Never turn a forklift on a grade, and keep a safe distance from the edge of the ramp. An unattended forklift is a danger to the operator and others unless it's properly secured. A forklift is considered unattended when you are 25 feet or more away, or whenever the forklift is not in your view, however close it is. Always select a hard, level surface. Don't park on a grade unless the wheels are blocked. Park in authorized areas only. Park a safe distance from fire aisles, stairways, or fire equipment. Be sure not to block traffic or exits. Fully engage the parking brake. Set the direction lever in neutral and lock the mechanism. Tilt the mast forward slightly and lower the forks to the floor until the fork tips touch the floor. Turn the key to the off position and stop the engine. Remove the key. Get out of the forklift without jumping. Maintain 3-point contact whenever exiting your forklift. Be sure to follow these safe travel tips at all times. Always look in all directions before proceeding. Always look in the direction of travel. If the load blocks your view, travel in reverse. Keep a clear view. Observe all traffic regulations, including authorized plant speed limits. Maintain a safe distance, approximately 3 forklift lengths, from the forklift ahead of you, and keep the forklift under control at all times. Yield the right of way to ambulances, fire trucks, or other vehicles in emergency situations. Don't pass other forklifts traveling in the same direction at intersections, blind spots, or other dangerous locations. Cross railroad tracks diagonally whenever possible. Don't park closer than 8 feet from the center of railroad tracks. Operate at speeds that will permit the forklift to be brought to a stop in a safe manner under all travel conditions. Other safe traveling tips include: do not engage in stunt driving or horseplay. Slow down for wet and slippery floors. Properly secure dock boards or bridge plates. Drive over them carefully and slowly and never exceed their rated capacity. Approach elevators slowly and enter squarely after the elevator car is leveled properly. Once on the elevator, neutralize the controls, shut off the power, and set your brake. Never carry passengers on a forklift. Keep arms and legs inside the cab area. Watch for surface obstructions. Even a small bump can cause a load to fall off elevated forks. Never drive up to anyone who is in front of a bench or any other fixed object. Don't travel into a position that if the forklift jumped forward, the brakes failed, or the wrong lever was pushed, a co-worker could be pinned between the forklift and another object. Blocked visibility, including partially blocked visibility, increases the chance of accidents. Operators should take measures to minimize this risk. Safe practices include: keep a clear view of your path of travel. Look in the direction of travel. When reversing, make sure you look behind you. Use spotters, rear view mirrors, or other aids to increase visibility. Where available, use concave mirrors when entering buildings or aisles. Use headlights if installed. Other safe practices to include visibility include: using reflective tape if the forklift is driven on facility or public roads. Drive slowly into and out of warehouses or other buildings. Going from bright daylight to a darkened warehouse may blind drivers just long enough to hit another worker, vehicle, or object. Be especially careful on loading docks. Stay away from the edge. Add physical barriers such as ramps, raised concrete staging areas, and heavy gauge safety chains in front of dock openings. Use protective rail guards. Add a warning track of yellow paint on the floor near all dock openings. Slow down and sound the horn at cross aisles and other locations where vision is obstructed. Forklift tip-over is an extremely hazardous situation. There are two basic types of forklift tip-overs: forward tip-over and side tip-over. The procedure to follow in the event of a tip-over varies depending upon the type of tip-over and the class of forklift. If a tip-over occurs on a sit-down counterbalanced forklift, don't jump. Stay in the forklift. Hold tight to the steering wheel. Brace your feet, lean away from the impact, and lean forward into the steering wheel. Tip-over procedures for other types of forklifts may vary. For example, operators of stand-up forklifts with rear entry access should step backwards off the forklift if a tip-over occurs. Forklift operators should always be aware of all conditions in their workplace, including pedestrian traffic. Forklift traffic should be separated from other workers and pedestrians whenever possible. Be sure to yield the right-of-way to all pedestrians. When a person or group of people walks across your planned route, stop, wait for the pedestrians to pass by, then proceed cautiously through any congested area. If an area is cluttered, walk the route first to spot any problems. Check for situations that require a spotter. Warn pedestrians by asking them to move if there's not sufficient safe clearance. Sound the horn at blind corners, doorways, and aisleways. Sound the horn or other alarm every time you back up. Passengers are not allowed on forklifts unless the forklift is specifically designed to accommodate passengers. Unauthorized personnel are prohibited from riding on a forklift. If riders are authorized, a safe place must be provided. Use only specialized equipment designed to raise personnel to a high work area. Never transport employees on an open platform. People can only be hoisted up and down, never forward, side to side, or in reverse. And never allow passengers to ride on the forks. Operating a forklift in an enclosed or hazardous area takes special precautions. Not all forklifts are designed to operate in all areas. Only designated types of forklifts can be used in certain hazardous locations in the workplace. Be familiar with forklift designations and hazardous location classifications. Only use forklifts that have the correct designation for the location classification. And be sure to obey all posted safety signs in hazardous areas. When used indoors, forklifts powered with internal combustion engines can present indoor air quality hazards. Cold weather with the closing of doors and windows may increase the risk of concentrating exhaust fumes. Safe practices include: do not operate a gasoline, propane, or diesel engine for long periods of time in a confined area such as a trailer. Shut off the engine when staying inside a small confined area like a trailer. Don't operate a combustion engine within a warehouse or plant without adequate ventilation. Be careful in cold weather. Doors and windows which are normally open may be closed and exhaust and other gases may concentrate. Be careful in small rooms or blocked off areas where gases may accumulate. Drive sensibly. Avoid racing the engine or idling for long periods of time. Be sure to properly maintain engines and don't operate an engine requiring servicing. Buildup of carbon monoxide is a deadly hazard. Forklifts powered with internal combustion engines can cause high levels of carbon monoxide in enclosed work areas. Unconsciousness and death may result from carbon monoxide overexposure as the concentration in the bloodstream rises. Learn the symptoms and signs of carbon monoxide overexposure. These include lightheadedness, headache, dizziness, and feeling faint.